Lisa Baez and Mike Aranda with the new homespot, thenewhomespot.com, your Florida Keys specialist. 800 islands, over 880 miles, one great real estate agency to get you there. How are you guys doing today?
We're awesome, Jed.
Very well, thank you.
Fantastic. This is I'm as I was somewhat touching upon in when we were speaking previously. It's so exciting to speak to you guys. I mean, not only are you in Florida, technically, of course, which is basically with as a fact the hottest luxury real estate market in obviously in the United States, North America, but further, one of the hottest in the world, just which is sensational. I love Florida. I've lived in Miami Beach. It's such an amazing place. Then to take that a step further, and what you do, Lisa and Mike, as the new home spot in the Florida Keys is just, I mean, what a unique, what a unique proposition that you present to uh, the luxury real estate market, the affluent market. I mean, it's really exceptional. How does it correlate for the with respect to as I just touched upon, obviously Florida, South Florida, especially being in the ongoing, consistent, quote unquote boom that it's in, regardless of what seems to happen in the rest of the United States. How does that correlate with the Florida Keys?
What's going on in the Keys is that we're still going strong. We have one benefit, and that is what we do and what we're bringing to the luxury buyer is the opportunity to own in a really unique place. And it's been a privilege because I will tell you that Mike is also a builder. So he's built some fantastic, phenomenal homes right on the water. We're just finishing up a development on open water where people can come down here and buy a home that is finished tip to tail, includes landscaping, the pool, your dock. All you really have to do is bring your boat and your clothes, and you can come down and have a different experience from the mainland. And
right.
Since you've lived in South Florida, you know that once you cross over that 18-mile stretch, it's like its own little world, but you still can find luxury here. And we've been selling it for many years and find the market to still be very robust.
And that was basically my question. So thank you very much for that perfect answer, Lisa. And to then touch upon really quick before we jump into many of the the fantastic offerings that you have. One of which I know, Latitude 24, we have presented in the magazines many times, and I'm looking at all of the others right now. Your website's beautiful, by the way. But then further, with respect to the Keys, it's such a unique. It's probably one of the most special places on the planet. It's it basically is Caribbean weather. It's Caribbean spectacular water for the sake of conversation, and yet you are still, for those that want that, you are still connected to the United States.
Exactly.
That's right, Judd. And this is Mike. You're exactly right, and that's what makes, to kind of add to Lisa's answer to the previous question, that's what makes the opportunity so incredible. So, Florida, you mentioned, is one of the best markets that we, around, let's just say. And the fact that the Keys are so unique already, that really helps us. It really helps us meet more people. There's so many people coming down to go to Florida So inadvertently, we get to see more potential clients, and they get to see the uniqueness of the Keys. Um, kind of similarly, we've talked about it in our office a couple times up in the north. I don't remember the name of the island. You might. The real expensive island, Lisa. I've always kind of compared the Keys to that. It'll come to me in a minute. But again, just a unique area in a very, very, as Lisa put it, robust market for it is. So certainly helps.
I think you were thinking about Fisher's Island, Mike.
Martha's Vineyard.
Oh,
okay. That's Martha's Vineyard, and then to Martha's, Nantucket, etc.
Yeah.
And that is, I would imagine, that is a significant component. Somewhat of a loaded question because I believe, but of your market, it's those from the Northeast, and then I imagine, do you see a significant number of potential clients that perhaps they have always been aficionados of Palm Beach, of Miami Beach, etc., and yet then they are intrigued to go just a bit further and truly find paradise in the Keys?
100%. As I would say, an equal portion of our clientele are people who have homes and businesses on the mainland, so they may not live here or be able to live here full time, but they want to come down on the weekends. They want to have their own space. They don't want to be in a hotel. And we have a lot of people who do come down, and I would say it's more from the East Coast of Florida than the West Coast, but from both. We have built and sold houses to lots of Floridians as well as people from up north, proverbial snowbird. And it's very much, I think the people of Florida who come down see it as the treasure it is too.
I did. You're absolutely correct. I learned that when I was, I lived in Miami Beach 3 times actually, and I learned that people that lived in Miami Beach loved it. I loved it. It's one of my favorite places I've ever lived. That being said, they would, when the time was right, they would always, as they put it, escape, quote unquote, down to the Keys. And because it's that extension of majestic South Florida into, it's almost like you're driving into the Caribbean without having to tackle the nuances that can exist of going wherever you might think you're going with ease into the Caribbean.
I agree.
And in the Florida Keys in general, not to interrupt you there, Judd.
No, you're good.
The Florida Keys and each individual island has its differences. What makes the Florida Keys, in my opinion, even more attractive than say other Caribbean islands, and you mentioned nuances, is there's a lot of things for people to do in the Keys with ease. It's not difficult to go fishing, go snorkeling, and those are common things. But also, if you look at some of the sightseeing tours up and down the Keys, whether you're somebody that wants to be in the nature, or if you're somebody that is into, I know Marathon, for example, just built a state-of-the-art library, and kids are going there, visitors are going there, things of that nature. It really has a nice balance of infrastructure versus not allowing overdevelopment.
It sounds, the way you just described it, it sounds a bit, the way you just described it, it's a well-maintained and organized and run group of islands, if you will, and maintained well. And so you do have that balance of infrastructure, which is so important, because when people are looking to say, I keep dropping the Caribbean, but I think it's a strong comparison for a listener or a someone who's considering looking at the Keys, it's if I'm looking between the two, or perhaps it's looking between South Florida and the
Sure.
Keys. But then further, it's having that infrastructure is so important because it's vital, and you don't always
Sure.
people don't know what they're getting into when they.
Well, and another thing, Judd, if you think about it, so what makes it, again, the comparison to the Caribbean is exactly correct. And the weather, the water, the fishing, the snorkeling, all the water sports and sort of outdoor activities are very, very similar. You're absolutely right. What makes the Keys probably, I would say, maybe the most unique unique places is, so let's say, for example, you have a home in Marathon, we build you a home, or we find a home for you to purchase. You could go, whether you go south to Islamorada where they have phenomenal shopping, or you decide you want to go out for an evening of cocktails and dinner and shoot to the Key West. I mean, you're 45 minutes. Now, this is specifically Marathon, but you're 45 minutes from either one of those items. And obviously, if you felt like going fishing that day, you get on your boat and go out your backyard. So my point is that, so wherever you're staying in the Keys, whatever island, there are a variety of other islands that literally will offer you something completely different than the island that you're standing on. And very few places in the world can do that within an hour.
Absolutely, very well said. And to be able to offer again the water, the lifestyle, which obviously is a key component to living in the Keys, and the lifestyle that embodies so many different bullet points. Then that being said, it's then but also being able to bring to the table culture. And I know what I meant to say earlier is it sounds, with respect to what you were saying, is it due to being well organized, well run, the infrastructure, et cetera, it almost sounds like this unique type of luxury Aspen type market where I've been fortunate to live as well, where it has this unique community that has genius minds, genius intellect, and so you have your fun and your play on one end, and then on the other end you have, as you just touched upon, the library that you mentioned, you have the shopping, et cetera.
Well, not and talking a little bit of the culture again. We can go down to Key West, and Ernest Hemingway had a home there. There's
Right.
a variety of mystical tales that you can venture through, and um, you know some of the not so good times too. Let's not forget that the Conch Republic was a vital part of trade for South Miami for many years. So there's all sorts of interesting mythical tales that you can again get your dose of culture if that's what you so choose.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, just a very brief segue is the Keys are on the top of my list to spend some significant time in. I'm, since you touched upon Hemingway and whatnot, one of my favorite people on the planet, who's a huge inspiration. I'm currently reading Jimmy Buffett's A Pirate Looks at 50, and he spends so much time discussing his time in the area and how it altered the course of his life and changed his life. And he talks about Hemingway, goes into all of it. But it's and he
Wow.
and he talks about, as you put it so well, he uses the word the mythical nuances and just the what has occurred in that. The way he described it when he first got there, he said, and this is obviously an individual that's traveled to so many incredible places, but he said it's like nowhere you've ever been on Earth.
It's so cool to hear that. I'll tell you a quick story, and then so Jimmy Buffett was actually in Marathon. Nobody knew. Obviously, didn't recognize him. Whatever. They're out. There's a concert. Well, he walked up and at the end of the concert did an impromptu concert with him, a little guitar, singing some of his famous songs. And the reason I bring that up, obviously, not only because we're talking about Jimmy Buffett, but what's so neat about the Keys is you can be sitting at a bar or a restaurant, let's just say a bar, having a Corona with your flip flops on, And on one side, you could be sitting next to a boat captain, and on the other side, you could be sitting next to a billionaire,
Mm-hmm.
and they would not be any different, and nor would they treat you differently. And that, to me, is what is such an attraction to the Keys for folks, whether they're coming from the mainland city or somewhere Midwest, whether it's, Chicago, New York, wherever it might be, is that you literally have the ability to escape and just be the same, which I think a lot of people that are successful and are under a tremendous amount of stress look for.
I 100% agree with you. That was so very well said, spot on. Thank you for that. And it's something that we used to say about, again, just using it as an example, because I think it's it's fair to correlate the two and give it that strong assimilation. Is, living in Aspen, we used to say that is you could be, you just said it literally verbatim, is you could be sitting in a bar having a Corona, having whatever, and you didn't know if the person, the way we used to say, is you didn't know if the guy sitting on your right wearing cut off jeans with holes in them was worth 10 cents or 10 billion. And you didn't care, and no one cared. And
that's right.
And to find that, because you can't, it's rare, it's very rare to find that. And it's a unique opportunity to find a lifestyle like that, because it's easy to seek out I have no problem saying this, even though I have clients in Vail, but I'm a former Aspenite. But you can go to your Vails, you can go to your Palm Beaches. You don't find that. You will not find that. No, you're gonna find.
No, you didn't. I couldn't agree with you more, and it's to each his own, right? Not every seat for every rear end. That's how they say it.
I like that.
That's kind of what brought us to the Keys. I'm a fourth generation Floridian. My father is a third generation Floridian, obviously, and so on and so forth. And we've been going to the Keys for a very long time, and sort of stumbled into an opportunity down there about 8 years ago now, and we started building, and we've never left. And it has been, and Lisa's, relocated down from another one of our businesses a few years ago, and I'm sure she'll have the same opinion. But it's been so much fun and such an interesting dynamic. The Florida Keys comes with challenges in building, and very different challenges and unique circumstances in a lot of things. And to see all that in action, how it works, how what makes what makes the construction side of our business so unique is that it is very, very difficult to build in the Florida Keys, and that's by design. They don't want it spoiled, and you have to have a certain amount of respect for that. And I think that's why we've also been very successful. We have a great deal of respect, not only for the environment, not only for, wanting to provide a good product and have a good reputation to our customers, but also because of what the Keys is and what it's supposed to be. It's a gem. And we certainly don't want to come in and ruin that. We want to build our stuff and work harmoniously with, whether it's cities or the government, I should say, in general. So it's been great. And, we have some more stuff coming out of the ground. I'm sure Lisa's mentioned that on a number of occasions. And like you said earlier, we're in the book. And so we're excited. We see the market continuing. It's probably not going to be quite as strong as it was. Interest rates are obviously gone up a little bit. But, people want to live in Florida. It's the number one destination. And I feel like we have the what was the diamond in the rough. So we're pretty fortunate about our position.
Very well said again. And that was what I had in mind. Is so you have Florida being, again, to a certain extent, as you compare it to the rest of the, let's just say, United States with respect to luxury real estate, you have certain pockets or islands, if you will, that aren't necessarily affected as it pertains to luxury real estate with rising interest rates, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just simply because of the uniqueness and what they present to use that term again, with respect to lifestyle. And so you have that in Florida, but then further with the Keys, with what the new home spot, what you and Lisa have is, in my opinion, it's that next almost upper echelon of finding and discovering that lifestyle. It really, someone said to me right now, you can move back to Miami Beach for a bit because you loved it so much, or you can go to the Keys. It wouldn't be a question. It's no, I have to go to the Keys and experience that, because it's probably, I would think, unless you're a diehard skier, snowboarder, and you got to live in the hills. But if you want to be living the most pristine, fantastic lifestyle imaginable, and you want to live in the United States, quote unquote, it's in the Florida Keys.
Well, we know some people that can show you around, Judd, show you some houses to look at. No, it's a great area. Florida has done, our government has done remarkably well in allowing the constituents to continue to kind of push our businesses forward. COVID was a real strange time. It seems like we're certainly progressed through most of that, it would seem. So it just it put us on the map. For years, Florida in general has been a boom bust type state.
Yeah.
And for the first time, at least in my experience, and again, I'm fourth generation, we're kind of on the map. We're no longer second rate to, California, or maybe, some of these other locations. Florida might be the number one location destination as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, 100%. I absolutely agree with you. No, Florida is, and that, circling back to my first question, that's what I was trying to get at, is no, Florida is it, quote unquote IT. Florida is the market. And there are silver linings from the pandemic, and one of those is it gave people that forced opportunity to realize that, well, okay, this is my one chance, my one life. I have to live it the way I want, and that means living in a place that I love, that I cherish, that I love. And Florida presents that. When I first moved to Miami Beach, having been, I also lived a lot in great places in Southern California, Laguna Beach, etc. And people in Southern California, they drink this amazing Kool-Aid and think it's the greatest place on earth. And then you go to South Florida, and South Florida is just, right when I stepped off the plane and obviously then got to Collins Avenue and Miami Beach, etc. I mean, it's magic. It's pure magic. The people, the culture, the lifestyle, the unbridled entrepreneurialism. It's just incredible. It's this very, very unique place in the United States and on the planet. And then further, when you have the opportunity to just go a bit further down the road, so to speak, and find the Keys, that's just, I really think it in my opinion, it must be the most optimal place to live in the United States. And thus, before we run out of time, because I know you guys are so very, very busy, let's discuss a few of those developments, new opportunities, et cetera, that you currently have, that you're excited about, that you would like to express right now for those that will be listening to take note of.
Well, let me share. Maybe I'm going to answer your question, but probably a little different than you expect, Judd. Let me share with you some of the highlights of buying one of our new build homes. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about our new builds. Obviously, you can go see existing stuff with Lisa or realtors, and then at the new home spot. But I want to take this chance just to share some of the highlights, like I mentioned, for what we do. So if you're coming to look for something brand new in the Keys, first of all, it's very, very difficult to build in the Keys because of what they call ROGO. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that. Basically, what it is it limits the number of homes that can be built throughout the Keys finite. There is a finite number. So it can be very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
The homes that we build are all elevated. They're all rated to 165 mile an hour and better. Impact windows, impact doors. We use a specialty brand, Lawson Windows, which is a huge manufacturer. They have specialty impact window for South Florida. That's what we use. All of the roofs will be a metal roof. The patio, so anything on the exterior of the home that's a patio is actually poured solid. So you don't have any exposed wood to the elements, which can be very, very challenging in the Keys. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. There's salinity in the air. It's hot. Sometimes it's cold. So you want to try to eliminate any materials that could deteriorate in that type of element. So all of our exterior patios, poured concrete, again, CBS construction, all block construction.
Which is so important. It's that incredibly solid build that anyone that's buying, whether it's a new, something that you're developing for them, or something that's already developed, it's that solid foundation where the walls are, you can barely put a nail in them. They're that solid.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So that's just a few of the highlights that we have several opportunities, and I'll let Lisa share a little bit about the actual developments. But I just wanted to share that with the listeners and you, obviously, kind of what makes us different.
No, and thank you for sharing that. And that's important. It's that you build. Some people would say that most people build quote unquote at spec, and then you build above spec. It's building at the specs that are right to withstand and be in the unique, beautiful, majestic area that you are in the Keys.
And that's a great way to say it. We do go over and above standard specifications, and I think that's why another reason why we've been very successful. So.
Well, and another thing that people who are looking at, I mean, they're coming here for the lifestyle, for the environment, but at the end of the day, they want to love the home they're going to, and we can help them find that. Some other economic opportunities exist here as well in certain cities, and in Marathon primarily, there is the ability to rent out the home. And what we have is a lot of dual use investors. So they want to be able to be here, but they know they're not going to be here full time. And so they put it with a local property manager, and they're able to rent the home out and do it for a 7-day period, which you cannot do in Key West, for example, unless you have a hotel license. And that has also sort of expanded the way people think about, owning a luxury home. They can share it with others, get some cash flow as well as use it. And that has been very valuable to many of our buyers, is that ability to also cash flow it. And I mean, we do have investors who come down here and they buy up a bunch of houses for rentals. But for the most part, the scenario I described, I would say it's relatively common amongst people who are coming down here. They want to have that experience of the Keys and then share the experience of the Keys. And we can help them navigate through that.
Very, very well said. And yes, incredibly important that they have the ability to, people could do that in a number of different places, but to be able to do that in the Keys, you then are giving people the opportunity to create a new, as you put it, revenue stream and investment into their portfolio that they perhaps not would have been able to achieve in other places, and one that's highly desirable. One of the most sought after places to visit and spend time in, and thus being able to rent out a luxury property. And so Lisa, with respect to what are you currently excited about in your offerings that you want to touch upon? Again, I know we've featured Latitude 24, which is now under construction a few times. Is that your favorite right now, or what are you most excited about? Because I know you have a number that are sold out.
We have 3 left, so we are sold except for 3. And the remaining 3 have a new design that has separate guest quarters. So homes are, as far as living space, are almost 6,500. But you've got 5 bedrooms and 5 baths, and then those are split off. So
wow.
The guest house has a kitchenette. It has 2 bedrooms, a full bath. And then you have a primary, which is connected to by a breezeway, and that has 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, actually 4, 3.5, and they all have open water views. They all come with a dock.
Wow.
And every one of them, when you're there, it's like you're in your own little private world. It just always brings out that feeling of being awed when you're just up there sitting on that deck looking out. And I think we've created a home where people can come to the Keys and get the real experience of the Keys. It's quiet, but you can go and do any number of things, locally, and like Mike said, an hour either direction. It's a whole different world. It's a whole different island, and you're going to pass through many others as you go there. And throughout the Keys, you'll find little pockets where you can feel like you've gotten away from the hustle and bustle. I mean, Miami Beach, it's a hustle and a bustle. I know you love it, but when you get down here, get to just take a deep breath and let it out. And I think that's become a very valuable commodity to a lot of people who have their businesses in cities, is the remoteness, which I will also say that we recently had a new FBO come into our local airport in Marathon, and it has completely expanded the range of light jets that are coming here. It's been a noticeable difference of, the type of people who are visiting the Keys right now from just a few years ago. Having those services in place, with the airport, is bringing more people here because it's easier and they have the local service.
Very, very well said again. And that's a game changer, the new FBO. And then further, I love how you positioned it as, escaping the hustle and bustle. And I agree with you with respect to the hustle and bustle of South Florida and whatnot. And that is one of the reasons I finally threw in the towel on South Florida, is to escape that. But is you called it's a valuable commodity in life, basically, to escape that and discover it somewhere such as magical as the Keys. You're right. It's probably one of the most valuable commodities that we can discover in life for those of us that are fortunate to discover it.
100%. I agree with you.
Lisa and Mike, the new home spot, thenewhomespot.com. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you. Again, I know how incredibly busy you are. I'm so fortunate to have had now over 30 minutes of your time. Is there anything I didn't ask you during this first conversation that I should have? Is there anything that you'd like to touch upon before I let you go? And further, I hope we're able to do this again very soon. It took us too long to do this first one. But on that note, is there anything I didn't ask you or anything you'd like to touch upon?
I just want to thank you for your time, and we have enjoyed being the publication, and obviously enjoyed the time on podcast this morning. We're excited. If there's anybody out there that is thinking about the Keys, take a drive down or check our website out. Like you said, thenewhomespot.com. It's got new construction. It's got existing homes. Really, it's a great search tool. So if you want to see what we're doing and what it really looks like, go there, take a look, take a drive down.
And you're right. And it is a fantastic website, by the way. Compliments on it. And it is a fantastic search engine in its own right with respect to navigating your site and whatnot. So thank you for pointing that out. Lisa and Mike, thank you so much for your time on this beautiful Friday, already at the end of January, basically. I was hoping that 2022 wasn't going to move that 2023 wasn't going to move as quickly as 2022. It seems that is not the case. So it simply is what it is. I really appreciate both of you and what you do and respect what you do. And again, thank you for being incredible clients. I hope you have an incredible weekend.
Thank you
so much.
Bye-bye.
Take care.